Welcome back to part 3 of the stop motion series. Here we'll be talking about camera settings you'll use when you're filming and give you a few options for apps and softwares to use. So when it comes to camera settings, there's a whole bunch of stuff that would come in handy if you knew about like shutter speed and ISO and aperture and things like that. So feel free to look that stuff up, but all you really need to do for stop motion is make sure you lock your settings. You set the settings nicely and then you lock them and make sure that they don't change when you take photo to photo. Now here's an explanation of what I mean. If you look at the top left corner of the screen, you'll see that the sky is changing when I move my fingers around. This is because the camera is automatically adjusting how bright or how dark the scene is. So when something moves in and out of shot or something's moving around in shot, what you're going to notice is the camera's going to keep adjusting and make the image brighter and darker. So of course you don't want this to be happening in your stop motion video. So just make sure you lock your settings. If you're using a DSLR, you could just put it on manual mode. Some camera phones will have a manual mode, but if it doesn't, try this. On most Androids and iPhones, once you have your shot set up, you can usually just click and hold onto the screen to where you want to expose for, and that will lock your exposure for that spot. And now you can see you've got this little lock symbol, and if you move the camera around, it doesn't change the exposure. I do recommend holding your phone horizontally, although if you're doing a video for TikTok or Snapchat or something that's made to be viewed on a mobile phone, then it's okay to do vertical video. But almost always you do horizontal video because you can't just flip around a TV screen or a computer monitor. Now feel free to look into how to use your phone further or your DSLR further so you can go into manual mode and play around with your shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. But this should do for now. Now when it comes to using apps on stop motion, there are mobile apps which go onto your iPad or your iPhone, and there's actual professional software for your computer. Now when it comes to mobile phone apps, they can be handy, but they're not going to be that amazing because they're just going to make a few things simpler. They're not necessarily going to give you much control and make your animation any better. So here are some pros and cons. The pros for mobile apps is you can have your manual settings enabled without you having to figure out how to enable manual settings. It will play your animation for you so you can actually watch your animation. And my favorite is it shows you onion skinning. So it shows you the previous frames or the frames that are coming afterwards. So you'd be able to tell if you shook your camera a little bit and you can readjust it to kind of make it match up with the previous frame as much as you can. The downsides to these apps is they might not be free and they might have ads and things like that. And another thing is they just might not be that useful. So they'll be able to compile your stop motion together into a video file, which is all well if you just want to put it together. But if you want any control, if you want to remove frames, speed things up here, slow things down there, rotate things, or do any kind of editing, you'll probably need another software like Premiere Pro. Now don't get me wrong, they can be really great, so feel free to experiment with them if you'd like, but they're not necessary. Now if you're getting really serious about stop motion and you want to go to the next level, you might be looking at softwares for your computer. Here are a few quick recommendations, but one of the most professional ones is called Dragon Frame. Dragon Frame is incredibly powerful. It has several different features, so if you want to become more professional, you can hook up your camera straight to your computer and use one of these softwares like Dragon Frame to create your stop motion with more precision. So that's the end of this video. The next video will be us actually filming a stop motion.